So there's a new arms deal on the table that could be the match that ignites a full-blown proxy war in Sudan. We're talking about a conflict that has already created an absolutely horrific humanitarian crisis, and now it's at risk of a massive escalation. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what's at stake, who stands to gain, and why this could be a major turning point for the entire region.
And get this. According to recent reports, we're talking about a massive new arms package worth $1.5 billion heading to Sudan's military. Now, to put that in perspective for you, this is not just another shipment of supplies. Oh no. This is a strategic investment on a scale that signals a dramatic and, frankly, a very dangerous escalation is coming.
And that right there is the crucial point. This deal signals a huge pivot by powerful regional players. A deliberate move away from months and months of diplomacy and towards a military solution to the conflict. It's basically a bet that this war can, and maybe in their eyes, should be won on the battlefield no matter what the staggering human cost is.
Which brings us to the central question we're tackling here. Is this massive influx of weapons a calculated move to maybe force a quick end to the war? Or is it just going to pour gasoline on the fire, turning Sudan into the next devastating, decade-long proxy war that could destabilize the entire Horn of Africa?
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics of this deal. Let's see what makes it so significant. Because we're not just talking about rifles and ammunition here. We are talking about advanced, battlefield-altering hardware that could give one side a decisive and very deadly advantage.
So what's on the shopping list? Well, look at the type of equipment involved. We're seeing trainer and light attack aircraft, a huge number of drones, over 200 of them for both spying and attacking, sophisticated air defense systems, and maybe even multi-role fighter jets like the JF-17. Those can handle everything from dogfights to bombing runs. This is basically a package designed to completely shift the balance of power, especially in the air, and that could lead to a massive increase in civilian casualties.
So, you might be asking, why is this happening now, after all that talk about peace? Well, the simple and tragic answer is that the diplomatic track has pretty much collapsed. For months, the whole international focus was on negotiation, with peace talks sponsored by key players like Saudi Arabia. But now, it looks like that strategy's been thrown out the window in favor of raw military force.
And this timeline just lays it all out so clearly. Look at this. The Jeddah peace talks kick off back in May 2023. But fast forward through 2024, and they've totally ground to a halt. And now, here we are in early 2026, and those talks, they've been replaced by reports of this enormous arms deal. It's a clear, unmistakable progression from the negotiating table straight to the battlefield.
So why did it fail? Well, for one, the Jeddah talks just couldn't secure a lasting ceasefire that would actually stick. And all the while, these horrific humanitarian violations were just getting worse and worse. And for a key power broker like Saudi Arabia, a real fear was growing that the other side, the RSF, was on the verge of a total military takeover of the country. So from their point of view, the time for talking was over. It was time to arm their allies.
This shift from talking to arming has also revealed this powerful new alliance that's forming around the conflict. This is no longer just an internal Sudanese civil war. Nope. It is rapidly becoming an arena for competing regional powers, like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, to duke it out for influence.
Okay, first, a quick refresher on the two main groups at war. On one side, you have the official state military, the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF. And on the other side, you've got the powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF.
And this is where you can really see the new geopolitical map taking shape. A very clear coalition is coming together to back the safe. You've got Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, with Pakistan now jumping in as the arms supplier, and they're all lining up against the primary backer of the RSF, the United Arab Emirates, which of course has its own strategic interest in an RSF-led Sudan. This alignment is what sets the stage for a really dangerous proxy war.
Now, each of these backers has its own reasons for getting involved. For Egypt, a chaotic Sudan is a huge threat to the flow of the Nile River, and that's an existential security issue for them. For Turkey, well, it's a gateway to expand its military and economic footprint in Africa. And for Saudi Arabia, it's about keeping things stable on its southern border and, really crucially, countering the growing influence of its rival, the UAE. So this arms deal, it serves all of their interests, even if it means dragging out the conflict. But where does the United States fit into all of this? As we're about to see, the American role in this conflict is incredibly complicated and, you could say, pretty contradictory. And that just adds another layer of complexity to an already explosive situation.
So here's the paradox.
Officially, the U.S. is a main sponsor of peace talks through this diplomatic group called the Quartet. But look who else is in that group. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Egypt. I mean, these are the very same countries now bankrolling and arming the opposing sides of the war. Washington is trying to mediate while its closest partners are literally escalating the fight. It's a situation that completely undermines any real chance for peace.
And this raises some really serious questions. These arms deals are being put together by close U.S. allies. We know from reports that Sudan was discussed in high-level meetings between American and Saudi officials, and that Pakistan's top general just recently visited the White House. So the crucial point is this: how much did Washington know about this massive military escalation? Was there some kind of quiet approval or coordination? The answer could have huge implications for the future of this war.
When you put it all together, the foreign money, the advanced weapons, the great power politics, it's all pointing towards one ultimate danger. So where could this all lead? The fear is that Sudan is falling into a very well-known and absolutely devastating trap, one that has already consumed other countries across the region.
This quote really captures the dangerous logic of escalation perfectly. The thinking always goes something like this: just one more shipment of weapons will be enough to tip the scales and force the other side to negotiate from a position of weakness. But in the real world, it almost never works that way. It just makes the other side match the escalation, fueling an endless cycle of violence that completely devastates the civilian population.
And the scariest part? This isn't a new story. We've seen this exact, tragic movie play out before. Just look at these examples. Foreign military interventions in Yemen, Libya, and Syria didn't end those conflicts. They made them longer, they made them worse, and they made them infinitely more destructive for ordinary people. The fear is that Sudan is now walking down that exact same bloody path.
And that is the very definition of a proxy war. It's when a country becomes the chessboard for larger powers to fight their battles. The needs and lives of the local people just become secondary to geopolitics. And the constant flow of weapons makes sure the conflict can burn for years, if not decades, with devastating consequences for everyone caught in the middle.
So this brings us to the stark choice facing Sudan and the international community. Is there a way to pull back from the brink, to stop the flow of arms and actually pursue genuine de-escalation through diplomacy? Or are we just watching the country get resigned to the same fate as Syria and Libya, a decade-long quagmire fueled by outside powers who don't seem to care about the human cost? At the end of the day, the lessons from recent history are painfully clear. Pouring advanced weaponry into a volatile civil war doesn't create peace. It creates a proxy war that can last for years and destroy a country from the inside out. The only question that remains is whether the powerful nations involved are willing to listen to the lessons of the past or if they're all just doomed to repeat them.